Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another edition of Ice Wolves Insider. Well, on tonight's program, we'll be chatting with Ice Wolves head coach Bob Beattie, as well as Ice Wolves veterans Pavlo, Zerebecky, and McNevin. And then later on in our usual From the Stand segment, where we talk with Ice Wolves followers, we will be talking with Scott Boys and Roger Schooley. Should be a great show. We'll see you right back. Welcome back to Ice Wolves Insider, and at this point we're talking with Ice Wolves head coach Bob Beattie. Bob, Happy New Year and welcome to the program.
Happy New Year to you too, Kelly. It's good to be here.
All right, so it's been a little while since we caught up with you, and last time we saw you guys on the ice, it was a big victory on home ice versus first place Flin Flon Bombers. Coming into that game, you guys had lost 2 or 3 in a row. Maybe talk about how
2
important.
Actually.
Okay, sorry. You guys are pretty precise about that. Yes. Maybe talk about how how good that must have felt to have that bounce back game against a strong opponent, and of course it being the last game before Christmas there.
Yeah, I think it was important to to go into the break with some momentum. We always struggle a little bit between games after a loss. I think for everybody's sake, it was nice to win. It was a great effort. We had a good team game, and I thought we played solid.
Was there anything in particular that stood out for you in that win against Flin Flon that maybe the team had not been doing as much in the games prior?
Well, I think the effort was there from all 4 lines, and we were tighter defensively. We had good goaltending. The 2 games prior to that, we had got outplayed, but we had got back to what brought us success, and in the string that we had put together, prior to that.
Mm-hmm. So, you still have obviously a smattering of veterans on this team, but you also have a lot of young guys on the squad. How much of a confidence boost was that to beat a team like Flin Flon that is, of course, in first place right now in the Bauer Conference?
Well, I think it should lead to some confidence. Certainly, we know that we can play if we're playing close to our best hockey. We're going to compete with any team in the league, and I think that was a good indication that that we are somebody to be reckoned with. We just have to make sure that we repeat those types of performances game in, game out.
Mm-hmm. So as things stand now, you guys are 2 points up on the Melfort Mustangs for 5th place, and what represents the last playoff spot in the North Division there. And I believe the Mustangs have 2 games in hand. Looking ahead at your schedule, you do have a lot of tough opponents coming up. Maybe just assess your chances in terms of the competition coming up, starting with, again, the Flin Flon Bombers this coming Friday there.
Well, again, I think if we're executing, we're playing tight defensively. We're definitely gonna compete with any team in the league. I think our schedule is reasonably favorable as far as our home games versus our road games. I think a good portion of our tough road trips are out of the way, and I think we're set up. If we can execute at home, we can go on a pretty good run.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, you can go in a lot of different ways when it comes to the upcoming trade deadline. Have you, finalized in your own mind, kind of what you want to do come around January 10th there?
Yeah, I think that we've set the table pretty well for next season already, and it's going to take a heck of an offer to pry one of our coveted players out. We have no intention of mailing it in to make somebody else better unless it's an outstanding deal for our hockey club.
All right. Having said that, do you have a wish list for a player you want to add for this campaign to your team?
Certainly, every opportunity to get better, we're going to look at, and we look at improving our back end first, I think. That's probably a priority.
Okay. So I did also want to ask you about a former, and it's amazing that we're even saying this, former Red Wings coach, Dwight McNevin, longtime Weyburn head coach, of course, basically a legend in junior A circles. I know that you've had a good relationship with Dwight over the years. He obviously has respected your programs and what you've done here in LeBron Jen and Humboldt. So that must have been tough news to hear that not only was he already done coaching in this what was supposed to be his farewell season, but that the decision was made for him. Maybe just give us your reaction to the news and also what you have to say about what he's brought to the SJHL over his time in the league.
Well, I have to say it's very regretful, the way that things ended. I really can't say on the air exactly what I would like to, but Dwight's brought a lot to our league in terms of helping younger coaches, and he's always been very cooperative. We've had a great relationship, and somebody that that I've looked up to and trusted over the years. He was in the league 15 or 20 years before I got here, and it's always been a positive relationship, even through the competition. Dwight, definitely was a guy that respected very much. He wasn't afraid to stand up and speak his mind when he didn't agree with something, and he always had good logic and rationale behind his argument. We're definitely going to miss him, in the coaching community, and I think it's very regretful for for the Weyburn Red Wings to end that tenure the way it did.
Yeah. Well, just finally, Bob, I just want to give you an opportunity to extend any kind of message that you want to the fans here in LaRange about the team this season and what they can expect going forward to close out the year here.
Well, I think we're going to go forward with the pedal down, and I think we've got a lot to prove. We've got some good quality players, veterans and young players that we're capable of building some success with this season and in the future. And they're in no way, shape, or form are we throwing in the towel.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, as always, Bob, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much for being on the program.
Thanks a lot, Kelly.
All right. If you're just joining us, this is Ice Wolves Insider, and we've been chatting with Ice Wolves head coach Bob Beattie. We'll be right back with Ice Wolves veterans Brett McNevin and Pavlo Zerebecky. Welcome back to Ice Wolves Insider. At this time, we're talking with a couple of Ice Wolves veterans, both 20-year-olds, Brett McNevin and Pavlo Zerebecky. Guys, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us, Kelly.
Thanks for having us. Yeah. So yeah, you guys were with us last year, with the team last year, and this is, I guess, obviously your final season of junior. Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about just the pre-Christmas portion of the schedule. You guys had a winning streak kind of in early December there. Then had a few setbacks. It then ended with a big win over the Flin Flon Bombers on home ice. Let's just talk about how big that was in terms of a morale boost. I'll start with you there, Pavlo.
Well, I think it was good to get that win, especially against a team like Flin Flon first place. It's good for the guys to know that we can win games like that and have that momentum going into Christmas, so we can build off that and start off strong again.
Yeah. Brett, what did you think that the team did in particular that really won you that game against the Bombers there?
I think all four lines are going, and we're pretty much a hard-working team, so we have to play like that every game in order to be successful.
Yeah. So let's talk about coming into I guess this last stretch of games here, heading into the playoffs. I believe you got 10 on home ice, 8 on the road. What you guys have to do in terms of success moving forward? As I mentioned with Bob, obviously there's some tough teams coming up as well, but there's a lot of games on home ice. What do you guys have to do as a team in order to have success? I'll start with you there, Pat.
Well, basically what Brett said, we got to have all 4 lines going. We got to be playing our style of hockey. We're not a skilled team. Like we gotta play our style of gritty hockey. So if we stick to the game plan, I'm sure we'll be fine.
Yeah, Brett, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, same thing. Us as veterans, we got to be leaders to some of the younger guys and just work hard, and hopefully it'll rub off on them. And just pretty much work hard every game. That's all we can control.
Yeah. What would you say is the team's identity right now? The La Ronge Ice Wolves this year. I'll start with you there, Pavlo.
We need to be relentless. That's for sure. So always going to be battling for pucks and be aggressive. Like I said, we're a gritty hockey team, so we got to show that side of the game. That's going to be our identity, for sure.
Yeah. Brett, obviously you're no stranger to the gritty side of the game. Last I checked, you're one of the leaders in penalty minutes. I think you're just behind Brett Hope. I'm not sure if there's a bet going or a contest going here, but that's where you guys are at. Maybe just talk about the fact that you bring that physical side. Is that something that you relish in terms of the type of style of play that you play?
Yeah, that's what I've been playing since midget, pretty much. So I don't know, with the penalty minutes, it just seems to happen every year. But I don't know, the refs don't like me or whatnot. But it just happens. I lose my temper sometimes, I guess, and just play with an edge. That's all.
Yeah. I got to ask you, obviously as a guy that, plays the style that you do, what are your thoughts, honestly, of the junior A supplement? It's probably not easy to be a player kind of with, your skill set and doing, your game and having these restrictions in terms of, accumulation of fighting majors and things like that. What is your thoughts on the supplement?
I don't know, it's not too bad because for me anyways, I can't fight too often because I always throw at my shoulder, so I guess it's good to have a limit, but I don't think they should take it completely out of the game because then it'll allow smaller guys and bigger guys can't really do anything to protect some of their more skilled guys that can't fight or else they'll get suspensions and whatnot, so they should keep that in the game for sure.
Yeah. And just for anybody who's watching, maybe isn't completely familiar with the team, obviously this is not all you bring to the team. You're obviously one of the top penalty killers. You've been playing on the line recently with Graham Smerrick and Spencer Brennan. Maybe talk about, the role that you find yourself on this team. You're obviously part of the leadership core. Just talk about your role recently with the team, how you found that.
What I found is last year I was more of a third line guy or whatever and just shutdown guy, and more like this year the transfer would be I guess I'm on the top line now, so I gotta be a little more offensive, and then that's pretty much it.
Okay, Pavlo, obviously last year you and I were joking about how you were a first goal specialist last year. I think you're like one of the co-leaders in the league for much last year. This year it seems I don't know, recently you've been racking up the fighting majors. Maybe just talk about that. 3 fights in the last 5 games. What's happening?
I don't know. I've never been a guy to go look for a fight, but if the opportunity comes up, I'm not scared to take it. And as lately, it's been coming up quite a bit. So, that last one for sure with Boyd, he got hit from behind. You have to step up at that point, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had not much to say about that. It's just been happening, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just mainly kidding here, but let's talk about your role with the team. Again, you're another veteran. Has that something that's come easily to you, or how have you embraced that role as one of the vets on this team?
Well, I definitely have. It's a lot different than last year for sure. We had a lot of older guys when I was working on the team. So now this year, I have to have the mindset that I got to play the way I want my younger players to play too. Like they got to see the example through us older guys. So I feel that I got to work harder. Yeah, basically that.
Yeah.
So you got to show them on the way.
For sure. Just finally, guys, I want to just ask you guys. Actually, I should be asking every player this, but just maybe talk about the La Ronge experience in terms of obviously you guys had not been probably to La Ronge a whole lot, if at all, prior to joining the team, and just what's it been like in the last year and a half you guys have been with the club and just living in La Ronge. I'll start with you there, Brad.
Yeah, well, I come from a bigger city, Calgary, so my first year I played in Lloyd. I went up there. I thought that was a small city, and then I got traded up here. It was kind of a shocker, but you get used to it. You have the team, great billets, and it just makes it a lot easier. Good coaching, and you get along with everyone. So
Yeah.
just get used to it. It's a good lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And Pavlo, you get the final word on that.
Well, it's the same thing. Like I came from Saskatoon, so it's a city, of course, and then like we'll come in here is a lot smaller, and then like the community has been so welcoming though. Like I have great billets, and like for me, I'm an outdoors kind of guy, so I like going fishing and skidooing and stuff like that. So my billets have given me the opportunity to do that quite a bit. So I could not be happier.
Good stuff. All right. Well, guys, thanks both of you for being on the program tonight. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
All right. Just joining us, this is Ice Wolves Insider, and we've been chatting with Ice Wolves veterans Brett McNevin and Pavlo Zerebecky. We'll be right back with From the Stands. Welcome back to Ice Wolves Insider, and we're joined now by Ice Wolves fans Roger Schooley and Scott Boyce in our usual From the Stands segment. This is where we chat with Ice Wolves followers. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
All right, so we got a few things to talk about here. Obviously, we've just come off a break for the team, but before the break happened, of course, the Ice Wolves did come up with a big victory on home ice over the Flin Flon Bombers. Just your guys' thoughts on what you saw in that game that maybe we hadn't seen in some of the prior contests in terms of what the difference was as far as getting the victory is concerned. Start with you there, Roger.
Well, I think the forecheck was consistent throughout the whole game. They didn't have any lapses where they quit doing it. I thought the defense moved the puck quickly. Sometimes we tend to hang on to it to that extra second, try to make the perfect play, but they moved the puck well. The puck was going in while the players are still moving. There wasn't that extra move at the blue line or that second thought about if I can, they'd hit center ice, the puck was in, and you had your wingers breaking or your other two forwards breaking. So I think that was probably the biggest thing. They didn't give Flin Flon a lot of time to set up and come out of their own zone.
Mm-hmm. Scott, your assessment on why they were successful there?
Oh, I think what I saw was the team was very consistent in finishing checks. Finish every check. Take the guy to the boards. Make sure that you're between him and the puck. I think they did that pretty much the entire game, and it paid off in the end. I think Flin Flon looked a little sluggish. They were a step behind a lot of the time. Still a dangerous team, but not as dangerous as the standings would suggest. And especially in their own end, I thought we had a step on them, and it showed. I think our forwards played way better than their defense, and I think our play in our end kept the shots down, which has been a bit of an issue for the team, getting outshot by a margin of almost 2-1 some games. That didn't happen.
I thought we played on the defensive side of the puck a lot more than we have some of the games I've seen this year. So obviously when you're pushing the play rather than trying to pull the play, things work out better for you.
Yeah, like attention to detail, that sort of thing. Defensive
absolutely.
posture.
Yeah, doing the little basic things right for 60 minutes gets you good results.
So obviously a big confidence boost for the guys there. Now, coming up, they play the Bombers again this coming Friday, but then it's a trade deadline. And as it turns out, this team, they're just going to be basically sitting there for 6 days, basically just waiting for this thing to pass. And this is going to be one of the teams, the Ice Wolves, that a lot of observers in the SJHL will be watching to see what they do, considering where they are in the standings right now, the number of 20-year-olds they have on the team. And really, Bob could go a lot of different ways here. He's gone on record a few times saying that he's not going to mail it in this year, so he's intending to go for it. What are your thoughts in terms of whether we're going to see a lot of activity, moderate activity, no activity? What do you guys think? I'll start with you there, Roger.
I don't think you'll see a lot of activity. A little bit of tweaking, maybe. Again, this team, although it isn't the team we've seen the last 3 years, you get into a 7-game series against a Flin Flon or maybe even a Humboldt, if you don't win, you put a lot of doubt in that other team's mind. Just, if we play the way we did against Flin Flon the other night, we're not going to score a lot of goals, but when we play hard and play smart, we can create some opportunities and create opportunities. Eventually, the puck's going to go in the net.
Yeah, I think through the year, although our stats don't suggest we're that powerful, and the guys say we're not a highly skilled team, we've given some of the better teams in the league reason to shake their heads and go, holy we just about took these guys a little too much for granted. And we've beaten some very good teams at the right time, and probably given them a wake-up call. And this is the team that's lost, a dozen or 13 one-goal games. So there have been a lot of times we haven't been too far off the mark. Yeah. And Bob has said, if it's a really good deal, I'll take it. Well, that probably applies to the other 364 days of the year. Yeah. I don't expect him to sell the farm for a goose.
Yeah. And what are your guys' thoughts on, because it looks like it's going to be the Ice Wolves and Mustangs for the fifth final playoff spot. Right now, the Ice Wolves have the edge. Do you think they have the advantage going forward over the Mustangs in terms of recent play? I'm not sure how much you guys have been paying, that much attention to the Melfort Mustangs, but what are your thoughts on that, Roger?
Well, Melfort came out of the gate pretty strong. They've been struggling a little bit now. Gavin's doing a pretty good job there. He talk about being left with nothing.
Yeah. And yet there are critics out there, which just amazes me. But anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas we're in the stands going, poor Gavin.
Yeah.
I think we do probably have a little better shot at it this year than they do. I think we're just a little farther into that rebuild. Well, we're not. I hate to use the word rebuild because we're not. We're reloading as far as I'm concerned. You look at some of the deals Bob's made, over the year, and some of the prospects he's picked up that aren't even here yet. There's some pretty good hockey players on this team's list, and I think we're just maybe we aren't rebuilding, we're reloading right now. I think so.
Scott, would you concur that the Ice Wolves have the edge on the Mustangs right now in terms of being the favorites for that final playoff spot?
Well, I think so. With the one thing that I'm looking at in the schedule, though, is we've got a lot of games against some of the top-ranked teams in the league. Now, we can play well against them, but if I had my druthers, would I want to see 4 games against Battleford instead of 2? Yeah, I'd like that, because then our fate is in our hands directly. We beat them, we really get a leg up on them. Now, I think we've got 2 against Battleford and 2 against Melfort, and I'm not giving up hope that they could climb past Battleford as well. A little bit of a streak here and there could do it, because there's still enough season left.
Yeah. Let's talk about some individual players on the team in terms of guys that you think, with it being a young squad, towards the end of the season, they're really no longer rookies. I'm talking about like the rookies on the team. Who you think in this, last third of the season will really start to emerge as a go-to core guy that maybe we haven't seen as much, to this point, like a guy that you think will maybe emerge at the end of the year, and maybe it isn't necessarily a young guy, maybe it's a veteran, that will still be around after January 10th. Is there any 1 or 2 guys that stand out for you as guys to watch that, I think we're going to see a move from this player in terms of confidence and the role that this guy has? I'll start with you there, Roger.
Gee, thanks.
Yeah. Let's bring this question on you.
Go with your billets.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really think that there's some good young guys on the back end. I think that Louis Joseph comes to mind. Brett Hope, Mitchell Houston, if he can, take care of his injury there. I think Bjork's played well.
Yeah.
I think maybe look for a couple of those guys to step up. There's another defenseman I was thinking of. That's just slipped my mind. The young guy that came from Weyburn.
Macaretta. Yeah.
I think he's probably a coach's favorite because you get the same thing out of him day after day after day after day. You don't get the peaks and valleys. So, I tend to watch the defense more than I do the forwards. So.
These are good answers, Roger.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of what I was looking for. Scott, anybody that stands out, maybe someone that perhaps Roger hasn't mentioned?
Well, actually, one name he did mention, Caleb Bjork. I've only seen him in a couple of games, but I think he likes to hold the line. He likes to try and pinch. And from one perspective, that might mean always taking risks. But I'd say you look at it and say, well, he's trying to make the game happen. He's trying to make the game happen for him. And it's a fine line. I mean, if you get beat on a pinch, you look pretty bad, and you get an earful when you get to the bench. But at least he's he's aware of the game and he's trying to make it happen. Up front, I think Leclerc is a guy I think he's steadily improved. I'm noticing him more and more each game. And if he continues that trend, by the end of the season, everybody's going to be noticing his name and number every time he's out there.
Brennan Boyd, another
Yeah.
young guy.
Yeah.
Kaylee Bjork reminds me a lot of Robert Montfort.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we know this year and next year he might not be that number 3 or 4 guy, but he just reminds me of that kind of guy that you're going to lean on heavily for the defensive end of the later on. I could be off on that, but that's really who he reminds me of where I watch him. So
Yeah.
And I think 5 of our defensemen are 19-year-olds, which means, if we've got all of them next year, it's a pretty solid lineup.
Yeah. A lot of these guys that you guys have mentioned, like Bjork and Macaretta, Chris Bob got these guys for futures, and I don't know what the futures are, but if it wasn't a player the other way, if it was cash, whatever Bob paid there, it looks like a good value for the Wolves so far. Let's talk about some league happenings now, and my personal thoughts on this, the whole Dwight McMillan firing, because that's what it is apparently, is a firing, is you just I cannot believe that it happened over Christmas. People, I think, are still waking up to the reality that his farewell season is done, after 30 some odd years, and it has just ended so abruptly, and it's kind of one and done. We're not going to really be, he's just another headline there, in SJHL.ca, and it's just like, really, So that's my thoughts on it. What are your guys' thoughts on the news that Dwight McMillan is actually done just a few months prior to actually officially retiring? Start with you there, Roger.
well, it shocked me. I was very surprised. I don't know what you can say about Dwight McMillan. It hasn't been said. You just look at his legacy in this league. He's the top junior A, most wins of any junior A coach in the country, I believe. Between him and Ronnie Rumble, they run that organization forever.
Yeah.
He was very, very well respected around the board table at the league level. When he spoke, people listened. When he spoke, he had a reason to speak. He didn't just speak. So I'm going to miss Dwight there. And he's always been very cordial and friendly to me. Like I've had a lot of time to spend with Dwight at league meetings and stuff like that, and he was a very nice man. I'm shocked.
Yeah. So that's the perspective from a governor. Scott, I'm guessing you don't really have as close a relationship with Dwight as, say, Roger, but your thoughts on just this hockey legend basically being let go this way.
Well, that's just it. He's a legend. He's been there you measure his career in terms of decades. What, did he suddenly become a bad coach? No, I don't think that's what happened. So, and I'll admit, from my perspective, I've never truly understood in sports how it sometimes seems so easy to change the coach. Because I think they get kind of the raw end of the deal more often than they should. And I'd certainly put Dwight's situation in that basket.
Yeah, for sure. Tough news for the entire SJHL, really. But anyway, thanks, guys, for talking about this and other matters concerning the Ice Wolves. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If you're just joining us, this is Ice Wolves Insider, and we've been chatting with Ice Wolves followers Scott Boys and Roger Schooley in from the stands. We'll be right back to wrap things up. Well, that's all the time we have for this evening's edition of Ice Wolves Insider. I want to thank all my guests, and I want to remind you as the fans that the Ice Wolves have upcoming home games on Friday the 4th, as well as Friday the 11th and Sunday the 13th. We'll see you at the rink.